Insomniac City Productions presents True Stories to Tell in the Dark, a compilation of true stories I've found online through Reddit and other sources. All information will be posted in the About section below. Please enjoy, leave a like, subscribe, follow us on Facebook, and tell a friend.
Story 1. The guy who pretended to be my father. So when I was in probably 2nd or 3rd grade, we had an early dismissal. For those of you who don't know, that's when school goes longer than a half day, but we still get out an hour early or so. I remember sitting silently in class working on math problems when the phone rang. I joked to my friend next to me that I hoped it was for me. We all watched the teacher answer the phone because we knew that 90% of the time it meant someone was leaving class. When the teacher's eyes met mine, I suddenly got really worried. I was an anxious kid, so immediately I thought that someone had died. My teacher said something into the phone and then asked me, "Bob, when are you getting off the bus today?" I thought this was really weird. My mom knew when I would be getting home because she had to leave work early, so she'd get home when I got home. I just told the teacher the normal time. The teacher talked for a few seconds and hung up the phone. I asked her what it was about, and she told me that my parent just wanted to double check what time I got off the bus. Didn't really think too much about it for the rest of the day. Later, I got off the bus and walked home without incident. When I walked to the front door, my mom asked me about my day and took my coat. I remember the look on her face when I asked her, "Why did you call the school to see what time I was getting off the bus?" She looked shocked. She turned pale white. She said she hadn't called the school. I told her the whole story and she immediately started making frantic phone calls. I knew that something was wrong. I watched some TV while my mom talked on the phone. About 20 minutes later, my stepdad came home early from work. About 10 minutes after that, the state trooper pulled up. I was pretty scared. I thought I was in trouble. The state trooper asked me a few questions like, "Has anyone tried to talk to you while you walked from the bus stop? Have you seen anyone parked at the bus stop who didn't have a kid get into their car? Has anyone tried giving you a ride?" The answer to all these questions was no. I'd never seen anyone suspicious as we lived in a pretty nice neighborhood, and it was mostly old retired folk who lived around us. My mom asked me to go upstairs and pack a bag, as it was my dad's weekend for visitation. My dad got there to pick me up. He was questioned pretty heavily by the state trooper. I had been eavesdropping from upstairs. Mom called me back down. I left for my dad with the weekend. My dad ended up teaching some basic self-defense, which I thought was pretty cool. I never heard anything about the situation. I eventually forgot about it. Fast forward to today. I had been listening to Lazy Masquerade on YouTube, and he narrates a lot of stories from here. I then remembered the whole incident. I asked my mom about it, and what she told me chilled me to my core. She told me that someone had called my school posing as my dad. This man knew my dad's full name, my name, and my mom's full name. He kept saying that my mother wanted me to pick him up from the bus stop because she wasn't going to be able to leave work early. The school didn't even bother calling my mother. I believe that the only thing that saved me from being abducted was the fact that I told the men that I'd be getting off the bus at the normal time, which is around 3:15. I had actually gotten off the bus around 1:45. So, creepy guy who wanted to abduct me, let's not meet. When I was about 7 years old, my father bought a few hundred acres in southern Mississippi, about an hour and a half west of Mobile, Alabama. He built a small cabin on top of a hill that was in the middle of a large field surrounded by woods. This house was about 5 miles from a paved road. To get to our land, it took nearly 10 minutes of driving, down dirt roads from the main highway, which was south of us. About a quarter mile north from the house, he built a small lake, more like a pond. It was about as long as a football field, but wider. To get to the lake from the house, you could take Route A, which is a hard-packed dirt road that was lined with dogwood trees. It was beautiful in the spring. Route B was about 100 yards east of Dogwood Lane, and we named it Vampire Trail because it was always so gloomy. The trees blocked out the sun on the brightest days, and it had a slight decline as you walked toward the lake. I say walked because the trail was not for vehicles. Thick woods filled the area outside and in between both trails. One morning during the fall, my parents and my little sister had gone to get ice cream and do some shopping. This trip would take them at least an hour or two. I was 10 years old, so I decided to go fishing while listening to Bama play Ole Miss. The game was the usual Bama win, so I thought I could ease the boredom of a blowout by fishing in the well-stocked lake. So I carried my pole, small radio, and small ice chest. I had an Airedale Terrier named Bully that never left my side, and it was on this day I realized how awesome he really was. On to the lake we went. Picture a large oval roughly the size of a football field, but larger with an L-shaped pier in the southeast corner. Vampire Lane opened up to a more severe decline to the shore, and then the small pier. Across the lake on the west side was the narrow tree line that separated the shore from Dogwood Lane. To the north side of the lake was the dam, and the south ended in thick, swampy woods. Fortunately for me, I realized later. About 5 minutes after I threw out my line, and 2 Bama touchdowns later, I got that feeling. It's a feeling I have come to recognize well, and it may have saved my life this day. The feeling of being watched by something dangerous. Bully must have felt it too, because a few seconds later I could hear him growling low, staring across the lake to the west. At the tree line that separated Dogwood Lane from the lake, I turned my head in that direction, and almost immediately my eyes lit on what I thought to be a half silhouette of a large man behind a tree. It was too far to make out details, but close enough to be sure what I was seeing. Almost 5 minutes went by, and right before I scolded myself for an overactive imagination, the half silhouette moved behind a tree slowly. Bully stood and growled louder. I told him to quietly stop as I turned my head north towards the dam while keeping my eyes and attention rooted to that tree. Over the next 10 minutes, which felt like hours, I watched this figure move slowly from tree to tree, always north and always facing me. The saying "scared stiff" was something I found to be true. For some reason, I thought it important that whoever or whatever it was did not know I was aware. I finally realized that the figure's path was bringing it closer to the dam, which would make its path to me shorter and easier. My paralysis broke, and I casually put down the fishing pole and started walking towards Vampire Lane. As an adult, I was in the Army for 11 years as an MP, but not turning to look over my shoulder during that walk was the hardest thing I'd ever done. My mind's eye, whatever it was screaming across the dam towards me. When I hit the tree line, I broke into a run. As I was running, Bully dashed ahead of me, and my anger turned into the admiration as he stopped some 20 yards ahead and faced north until I passed him. He continued this action the entire run home. My dog was watching my back. Just epic. Although I can grasp the awesomeness of this now, at the time I was so scared that I was literally sick. Even at such a young age, I knew that a large man watching and trying to creep up on a 10-year-old boy was up to no good. When I reached the cabin, I immediately locked the door and got one of my dad's shotguns as well as a .38 revolver. I sat at the large front window, my eyes glued to both trail openings and the woods between them. My family returned shortly after, and for some reason I did not mention what happened. I never felt safe there again. When me and my friends and my little sister wanted to go anywhere other than the area around the cabin, I made sure my parents were with us. What scares me the most, though, is the fact that our closest neighbors were about 2 miles northwest of us, with thick woods in between, as the crow flies. Who or what the hell was watching me from the woods that day? I guess I may never know. I sometimes wish I could go back, as a grown man with military training as I am now. Bully lived a full life and was put to sleep peacefully as a very old but great dog. The best dog I ever knew. This is a story that I've rarely told anyone, because it was legitimately the closest thing to a supernatural occurrence I've ever personally experienced. And it scares the shit out of me. I have a little brother. He's 3 years younger than me. When I was in the 6th grade, we were home alone during the summertime, playing around as brothers do. Wrestling, chasing each other around the house. Nothing out of the ordinary. I ended up chasing him into our parents' room, and we were throwing stuff back and forth at each other. Having a little fake war across the bed at each other. I don't know, kid stuff. It popped into my head that it'd be funny to scare him by shutting off the lights. There are no windows in our parents' room, so with the lights off it's pitch black, except for whatever light creeps through under the door. I retreat to the door, and decide at the last second that it'd be funnier to leave the room, turning the light out as I passed. I closed the door behind me, leaving him in the darkness alone. Maybe scare him a bit. So I did. I shut the door behind me as I turned the light off and left the room, turning around to listen to him as he panicked and wanted me to come back in. I didn't. "What are you doing?" I heard him say. "Yeah, he thinks I'm still in here, I guess." Haha. He didn't see me leave the room. I keep listening. "Jacob, what are you doing? You're freaking me out. Please stop." That's odd. I wonder what he's talking about. I keep listening. "Jacob, I'm not joking. Get away from me and turn the light back on. Now, I'm telling Mom you scared me." What the fuck? Get away from me? Did he just say get away from me? Laughing, I yell through the door at him. "Haha, dude, I'm not even there." He screams. Loudly. Like he's been stabbed or something. I mean, a blood-curdling scream. I freak the fuck out and try to open the door. It's locked. I didn't lock the fucking door. Why is it locked? My little brother is screaming, begging me to help him. "Hurry, please." I'm panicking. I have no idea what to do. I'm like 13 years old, 90 pounds. I can't bust this door down. My little brother's in trouble. I have to help him. He stops screaming. I try the handle, and to my surprise, it opens effortlessly. It's unlocked. I open the door and turn on the light. I see my brother in the corner crying. After some consoling and apologizing, I finally get him to explain what happened. He tells me that when I turn the lights out, his eyes hadn't adjusted to the light yet. It was just dark. After about 20 or 30 seconds, his eyes started to adjust. And from the little bit of light leaking around the door, he saw me standing in the corner with my back to him. When he asked what I was doing, I turned to him and started slowly crossing the room towards him. I kept coming until I was standing over him, looking down at him. He said he couldn't make out any features, just a dark figure with a shadowy face. He saw a hand extend out towards him and grab his shoulder. It was cold, very strong, and it hurt him. When I opened the door and turned on the light, the figure was gone. It just wasn't there. I never saw anything myself. My brother is now 23 years old. I'm 26. And to this day, he won't even talk about the event. We have friends who have heard the story through me and will tease him about it. He simply leaves the room, refusing to acknowledge it. He's admitted to me, even almost 15 years later, he is bothered by what happened that day. He still has nightmares from time to time. He still doesn't have any explanation about what happened. I feel sorry I left the room.